Hey guys, I thought about what I said yesterday, and the more I thought about it, I think since it's just a quest and it's not a test, that what I would like you guys to do is to use your review. There is a review with or study guide with this chapter. Use that to maybe practice and study and prepare for the quest. You don't have to fill it out. You don't have to turn it in. Just kind of use that as a guide to prepare and get ready for the quest. The quest won't have anything other than multiple choice, true and false, and a few fill in the blank. So definitely take a look at that and use that in that way. But with that said, I'd still like you guys to read your book. So tonight, I'd like you guys to read pages 502 to 504. And so that you are able to use your book in a way to just help reinforce some of the things that we're talking about in the videos. All right. So 502 to 504. All right. So today, kind of short. My board ran out of room really quick, and that's okay. We'll make up for it on Monday. But yeah, today we're gonna kind of keep it short and sweet. So here we go. So the first letter that we got to, we got to letter C. We said that there's uneven income distribution. We said that there's a whole lot of people that can't afford the new prices. You got one owner that can, but the rest of the people can't. In addition to that, we also have letter D, highest protective tariff in U.S. history, the Smoot-Hawley tariff of 1930. Now, the problem with that is this. This eliminates cheap foreign goods. So, in other words, it eliminates competition. So, instead of businesses trying to improve their objects, trying to make them maybe a little bit cheaper to sell, they don't have to worry about that. The tariffs are so high that no American is going to go out and buy a foreign something. They'll just buy American. So because of that kind of laziness, that really does put a difficulty on numbers of people buying things, because they, once again, a lot of people, especially in the South, have relied on for a long time now buying cheaper foreign goods. The next one is the elimination of holding companies. The elimination of holding companies. Once again, these were sneaky organizations, there's no question. Progressives like Teddy Roosevelt went after them. The only problem is this. They bought up hundreds and maybe even thousands of stock. When they're not in operation anymore and they're gone, well, that means that that's all that money that they used to be using to buy stock. Well, all that money exits out when they exit. So the people who may have had a company stock that may have been just invested by holding companies, now no one's investing in their company because the holding company, well, all of them have been eliminated and they're gone. The last one you'll see here is the end of the business cycle. The end of the business cycle. What's the problem with that? Well, here's the thing. Somewhere down the road always happens, and this is typical for many depressions, is there just gets to be a place where people just think, this is not a good time to invest our money. And so instead of investing their money, well, a lot of them just simply don't buy stock. They don't buy stock. They sell their stock instead. So this is just kind of like a natural thing that happens. There's a time where people are just like, okay, I'm not going to buy stock. I'm just going to sell it. And it happens. And unfortunately, sometimes this happens just at the wrong time, and that's definitely the case here. It just happened at the wrong time. Okay, let's talk about the domino effect of the stock market crash, because it has a lot to do with why we have a depression. It was just like often you will hear the perfect storm where one thing happens after another thing after another thing, and that's definitely the case. So letter A. Initially, only those invested in the stock market were impacted by the crash. So at the beginning, yeah, there's a lot of people that were invested in the stock market and they lost money. And in some cases, we talked about the other day that some of these individuals had bought on margin. Remember, buying on margin meant that they didn't put much money down in the stock, but they borrowed a lot of the money that they used to buy the stock from a loan from the bank. So these individuals are definitely hurting. Many of them may not be putting a lot of their money into buying goods because they're trying to pay back their loans that they had gotten to pay the stock. And then there's the bank. That's the next to fall. That's the next to fall. Interest on loans is the key money maker for banks. Banks rely on getting interest payments for the loans that people take from them. If the bank just simply lent out money and then people just came back and paid them back for the loan, the bank wouldn't make any money and it wouldn't make any sense for it to exist. So banks put interest on all the loans. Well, remember, what had the government been doing? The government had been pushing down the interest rates to try to encourage people to spend more money. The only problem was that doesn't help banks out because banks rely on those interest payments to keep them going. Well, now they don't have a whole lot of money. Loans on stock were especially risky because few people would pay them back. Few people would pay them back. And so this is another problem. People would borrow the money, they would buy their stock, woohoo! And then they would forget, oh, yeah, I have a loan with the bank that I need to pay back. So many people didn't come and pay back their loan. So now the bank has someone that they, at the very best, they can sue them. They can try to get their money back through the court system, but that could take time. They take the money that they might have in the bank, but in a lot of cases, they've just borrowed money. So banks are now getting shorter and shorter on cash. Without loans being paid back, ooh, I lost it. New loans couldn't be given out. So there's businesses that during the Depression were still working, but they needed loans so that they could build up their buildings and do the things that they needed to do. So they would go to the banks and the banks would say, well, we'd love to do this for you, but we're sorry. All of our different people who had borrowed money for stock, they haven't paid us back, so we have no money to loan you, right? So now the federal government, could have stepped in. We do have this thing called the Federal Reserve, if you remember from Mr. Wilson, but the Federal Reserve System was very slow to react. So this is another big problem. Banks aren't able to loan out money to people that still need loans. So several businesses that depended on loans will fail without that money. So several businesses that had depended on loans to keep themselves going, they can't go anymore. So they have to fire their workforce. They have to stop making goods. They have to stop buying resources from other people, which means that they have less customers to sell their resources to. So these businesses close shop because they can't get the loans. Second point here, banks desperate for money will start pressuring private individuals to pay back their loans. So now banks are starting to become hated because they're starting to do what they're supposed to do, which is, hey guys, you have borrowed money from me. We want our money back. And so now banks are kind of becoming the bad guys because they're trying to get people to pay back their loans. If the loan was backed with collateral, like maybe someone's house or a farmer, maybe their farm, they might be foreclosing on their house or foreclosing on their farm and taking it away from them. Why? Well, because the bank is desperate to get some money. Next point, people with savings accounts worry that their money might be taken to pay for these unpaid loans, so they withdraw their money. So people with savings accounts worry that their money might be taken to pay for all these unpaid loans, and withdraw their money from the bank. So now the bank has even less money because all these people are coming in, getting their money from their savings accounts. This is where banks exist. They don't have money unless people come in and put together savings accounts. Now, granted, people who get savings accounts until recently get usually interest on that savings account, and that's why they put their money in the bank. Now the bank is going to lose even more money because these people are taking money out of the bank. And remember, this is called a run on the bank. Oh, I just put that down here. All right, so the last point is these runs on the bank reduce the amount of cash the bank had on hand. So these runs on the bank reduce the amount of money that the bank had on hand. So generally speaking, guys, we are seeing little by little by little, one thing right after another thing after another thing, we're starting to find ourselves deeper into the depression. But it all started because of the stock market and the unwise investments that many people had made. All right, so don't forget pages 502 to 504, and I will have a great weekend. You have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday. All right, see you guys. Bye.